are into extra time of the SPL show as we get to know the guests on the review of the previous weekend. We have Hougang United representation, Firdaus Kassim, the Hougang United assistant coach and also part of the youth development of the club, and Emmeric Ong, a new signing for Hougang United. Thank you guys for being on the show, and we want to know a little bit more about you. It's going to be a very casual chat with the both of you. And Firdaus, for yourself, you're still 33 years of age, very, very young for a coach. How did you get into coaching from playing football?
I think like every other coaches, you always aspire to be a professional footballer, but I realized very early that I wasn't good enough. So luckily for me, I had an injury. I was playing for Prime League, so back in 2004, 2005, around that period. So it was easy decision for me to just quit playing and then just move on. I took up my coaching batches very early, and yeah, 10 years later I'm here.
And you got into the limelight because in Singapore we were just focused on what's happening in Singapore, but you found opportunities overseas. What drove you to go overseas instead of starting it off here in Singapore?
Well, actually, I was with the Hougang Sui back then, to 2015. So I went over to Thailand to take my A license, and so I found new opportunities over there. So instead of coming back to Hougang, I just stayed there, and one thing leads to another.
You have the Hougang blood in you. Emmeric Ong has the Hougang blood in yourself as well. You're back in the club, but it's been 9 years in the making because you did make your professional debut with Hougang United. How did that story start for you?
Yeah, I think I joined Hougang Prime League back in 2011. I think Duncan, yourself, you were there in the S-League team.
Yes, very long time ago. Yes.
Yeah, so I think I've got to give a lot of credit to Coach ID and Coach Hasrin at the point, because Coach Hasrin was my Prime League coach then, and both of them had a lot of faith in me, and they gave me my opportunity in the S-League then, and from then on, I think I've never looked back.
I think it's fair to say that in Singapore we do not see too many Chinese footballers. So coming up, how did you get started? Who were some of your heroes?
I think I get started with football in general because of my dad. I think when I was young, he was always watching Liverpool at night. So I think I got curious and I started sitting down and watching with him. So it just kicked on from there, where I just went to school and started kicking around with my friends and joined the school team. So it just really went on from there. And of course, as a Chinese player, I think we are the minority in football here. So I don't think we have any special privileges by any coaches, but I think that comparing us to the other races, I feel it's probably easier for us to get spotted because of our race, but ability-wise, of course, we have to be there too. We can't be of a lower ability and expect to be chosen. So yeah, that's about it.
Am I right in saying you both are Liverpool supporters?
Yeah.
Yes.
True.
Very, very interesting. So we touched back on you, Firdaus. You went overseas. You decided to pursue your coaching there. How did you adapt to the language in Thailand? How do you adapt to the language, to a different culture living overseas?
They say it's either you adapt or die over there. So I think for me personally, apart from football, I have a very keen interest in language. So when I have a free time, I always like to learn a second language, third language, and fourth language. So over there, it was since I don't have a translator, so I have no choice. I was on the street, I was communicating with the locals over there. So eventually, I think in 2-3 months, I was able to speak very fluently. And then it helps in my coaching delivery during the training session. So especially when you get to communicate with a place in their own language, you don't need a translator. So it shortens the delivery times and everything else. So for me, it was wonderful living over there. Different experience, different culture, different football, different fans, different... everything was different over there in Thailand. So, but of course, I had to make a family decision to come back for a year, and then hopefully, eventually I want to test myself at a higher level again.
Sorry, no mean feat, by the way, to learn a different language in 3 months. That is fantastic. Were you fluent? And I mean, I'm sure the players and the coaching staff must have been impressed with the progress that you made in adapting to them and getting to know their language as well.
Yeah. Because you are basically using the language 24/7 every day. So in 3 months, it's normally you'll be very fluent. In fact, you even know how to speak or communicate in their own in slangs, you know. So it's not as though you are studying 2 hours a day and you're not communicating. So application was there. So it was a lot easier compared to in just studying through online or YouTube or things like that.
Yeah. 35 years, and many people might say I've not even mastered the English language. So well done to Firdaus on that. Emmeric, let's bring it back to a couple of years ago, and I think one of the highlights of your career was definitely making your Singapore national team debut.
Yes.
I think we had a pre-match interview as well with yourself, and then it went from a high to a low because you got sent off very late on. To put into context, the forward was away on goal, was true on goal, and you had to just take him out to take one for the team. How were your reactions, your feelings when you went into the dressing room ahead of everyone else, when you sat down and tried to take stock of what happened? What were you thinking?
You were sent off on your debut.
Yeah, I think in the 88th or 89th minute. Yeah, so I think at that point when I think I made a bad pass back towards Hassan and I knew he was true on goal, so I had no other choice, so I had to take him down. So after I got my marching orders and I was walking back, so I didn't actually sit down in the changing room, so I was just waiting at the tunnel there because it was just a direct free kick right outside our box. So I was very worried that if that goal went in, it'll compound my mistake, you know. So I was just waiting there, waiting for the Hong Kong player to take the free kick. So luckily for me, it hit the top of the crossbar and it went out. So okay, I breathed a sigh of relief and I went back to the changing room. So I think as I was cooling down and calming down, I think that I reflected back on the whole game and I felt that I did pretty well in that game. But of course, nobody remembers you doing well if you have a mistake or your red card. So I felt that it was really a shame for me that I threw all my good work away. So I think that is something that I really regret until now, that I wish I could have done better.
Sundram, of course, gave you your debut. Did he say anything to you in the dressing room? Did any of the players say anything to you in the dressing room?
I think all of them were very supportive because even though it was my debut, but I think most of the players there in the national team, I've been involved with them in Young Lions, in Lions 12. So I think that all of them know me as well. So they have been very supportive and they know that I'll come back stronger. So they support me. And of course, the next game, I think it was our qualifier game. So of course, I wasn't involved in that, but that wasn't a decision because of the red card. So yeah, I think everyone was very supportive and they helped me a lot through the way.
Is that the first Singaporean to get sent off in debut?
I have to look back on the history books for that one, but I think it's very rare to get sent off on your debut. But yeah, I remember, and I'll point it out to everyone watching. You did have a great game. You up to that point, you were solid at right back as well. So credit to Emmeric.
So we'll take that into consideration before we give him a Hougang.
Oh yes, they'll think about it now. Perhaps maybe 90th minute they put you on. That needs to make a debut first, and then we'll sort out the rest of it. Another talking point of your career was not too long ago with Warriors FC,
yes.
And the whole cloud that was surrounding the club towards the end, especially with salary issues. How difficult was it to play under those circumstances?
I think you can see from our performances last year that, of course, we didn't start too well last year. But of course, when the news came out about our salary issues, I think that really, from then on, I think our results were one of the best in the league. We had a good run of, I think, 4 wins or 5 wins in a row. So I think performance-wise, we didn't let it affect us because anything on the pitch, when we get onto the pitch, we don't really, as players, we don't really care what happens off the pitch. So I think we were quite a close-knit group last year. So I think off the pitch, we tried to fight for what we were owed, but on the pitch, we fought for each other. So I think that's the most important whenever we play as a team and as a club as a whole. So yeah, so the salary issues had nothing to do with what we were doing on the pitch.
And you kind of bonded together. You had a great cup run all the way to the final. Would have been interesting if Warriors FC did win the cup at the end of it. But yeah, did you guys get together and say let's give it a good push and try to go for glory?
Yeah, I mean, I think before the final, all the players, we had a talk together. Especially Gabriel was our captain. So I think we knew the club had some troubles, and there was some rumors that the club might not be participating in the league the next year. So I think we all tried to give it our all to, of course, maybe give the FAS a headache if they want to kick Warriors out of the league if we had won the Singapore Cup. So I think personally, the players as well, everyone wanted to win. So we didn't go down without a fight. Yeah.
I tell you what, without that lightning warning system in the final, things could have been very, very interesting. But we digress. For yourself, you found your way back to Hougang United. How did that conversation come about?
I think even from last year when I was with Warriors, I've always kept in contact with Coach Clement. So I think he was my coach when I was back in NFA 18. So I think it's been about 10, 11 years. So I think over the years, I've always kept in contact with him. So when I knew that, of course, I got that injury late in the season last year, and I knew Warriors would also be out of the league. So when I was working in FAS, I kept in constant contact with Coach Clement. So I think he has always been very positive and maybe quite very open to me linking up with him again. So I think when my rehab got better and a clearer date of my return was more set on my return, I think that made negotiations much easier. I think because with my injury, it was difficult for Hougang as a club to sign me also. So yeah, so I understood that part.
It's quite nice to have both of you here because you started your careers almost with Hougang United, then went on to explore different opportunities, but now back at Hougang United. Firdaus, for yourself, if you could explain to the viewers at home, what is your coaching philosophy as what you've learned from overseas? What would you like to bring into Hougang United?
Well, I think like a lot of coaches, I want to play a possession-based game with very intensive pricing game as well, but with a proper organization. So I think that's what you want to try to implement this year. You know, play an attacking game, but defensively you have to be very solid at the back.
And so for this season, it's going to be a very compact season to round it off before the end of 2020. For both of you, what would constitute success for Hougang United?
Well, to do better than what they did last year. So I think this will show a progression. So hopefully if that means a title, then of course we want to go for it. But I think at the moment now, we just go game by game.
Emmeric?
Yeah, similarly, I think as a club as a whole, we want to improve on last season's success. So of course, even though we've lost many key players, but I think that every club loses players. So what we can do is we work together as a team and just do our best. And of course, whenever we give our best, I think good things will follow.
Yeah, Hougang United, a very different club from when all three of us were originally part of it, and now looking for bigger and better things. Firdaus and Emmeric, thanks for joining us and for giving some insight into your lives and your career so far, and we wish you all the best for the season ahead. All right, this has been Extra Time on the SPL Show, and hopefully a feature that we will keep on bringing on every week with the SPL notable players and officials. We'll see you next week.